Sorry about that. As soon as I jump in here. Okay. So, welcome, friends. Glad to be back today. It's Tuesday. That means our day to get together and to really talk about some of these important things, right? Last week, we mentioned that we are going to be coming live here every Tuesday to discuss creating your legacy. All right. And I know probably the first thing you're thinking is like, well, why do I care? Or how does this apply to me? Or how can I learn and grow from this, right? So what we're going to do is today we're laying the foundations. Okay. We're putting those foundations for what we're going to do to move forward and basically we're going to define some of the key terms. So when we talk about families, what are we talking about? When we talk about legacies, what are we talking about? When we talk about estates, what are we talking about? Because I mentioned last time, the real goal of this show and for the time we have together in these streams is to learn from each other on how to develop skills, how to implement plans that will help each of us to serve our families better, serve our businesses better, serve our customers and clients better, how to grow our businesses, right? And or grow in our career path that we've started or are interested in moving forward in. So today we're gonna cover a couple definitions. All right, so that's what we're talking about. So let's dive in and let's find out exactly what is a legacy, what is an estate, what is a family in the context of our discussion, okay? All right, let's get jumping in. All right, first of all, what does it mean to have a legacy? What is a legacy? So this, as I've researched this and thought about this, I've found that there are quite a few definitions, quite a lot of thoughts, philosophical, religious, all of these different versions of what is a legacy. Most of the time people think it's about leaving money or a successful business for your family, right? It's like, how do you distribute and you've acquired all this money, let's give it to your family and help them succeed and have kind of a jump start into life, right? Well, I believe it's more than that. And that's why I want to take the time to talk about it. Because if that's all it was, then I think we'd kind of be done now, right? And we can just jump off and forget about this. But I really think it is a lot more than just leaving money or a successful business for your family. I think the legacy we leave behind is a little bit about how we feel about ourselves and what we mean to others and what we mean to the community, what we contributed and the way that we served our community. It also, and this is a big part of it, right? It also means preparing the next generation for success. And by teaching them the same skills that we've developed through life that's helped us be successful, some of those skills that we'll talk about in coming weeks that you can develop and also share with your family and help them to acquire and grow in those skills. But it's important to not just focus on what you're leaving behind, but kind of who you are and what you stand for and the way that you serve those around you. So in short, really what the legacy means is I want to encompass in this term legacy, your health, your education, your experiences, your family, your beliefs, your hopes, your dreams, all your business ventures, your career path, your successes, your failures, any charitable giving you've contributed to, and of course, your wealth. We're going to talk about that, whether it's whether you view your wealth as minimal or large or substantial, it's important and it's a part of who we are and it's a part of what we can share with others. And it's not just about the dollar signs, right? All right. So next thing we're talking about, let's define the word estate. We're going to talk a lot about estate planning and estate this and estate that. Okay. But when I think about an estate, it often, to me, it conjures up those thoughts of, have you ever seen or read, what is the book? It's Gone with the Wind, right? You think about estate, you think about, Tara from Gone with the Wind, right? Back in the day when we had, large tracts of land and we're naming our homes and passing them on from generation to generation, right? Well, the estate in general, it can be looked at from the legal term, which refers to kind of your wealth and kind of everything that you own and everything that you owe as far as debts are concerned. Those are part of your estate as well, right? But I think today, even more than before, it relates to intangible assets too. So items that aren't physical in nature, I mean, money's not necessarily physical in nature anymore, right? It's all digital for the most part. Also, we have, NFTs, we've got crypto, we've got intellectual property with trademarks and patents that you can own, copyrights if you're a creator, right? If you're a novelist or an artist, you've got these intangible assets and rights attached to those assets. And so when we talk about that, basically when we talk about your estate, it's, you might think, well, that sounds like what you just defined legacy as, right? So I believe that the estate, when I talk about estate, that's kind of it's a subset of your legacy, okay? So I think an estate it happens to you, whether you plan it or not, okay? You have an estate no matter whether you mean to or not, right? So an estate is, like I said, it's everything you own and everything you owe. But I think a legacy goes beyond that. And a legacy is creating an estate with purpose and with intent. It's taking ownership and planning out what it is that you're going to own and what you're going to owe and how that's going to affect and how it's going to serve your community and serve your family. So that's kind of how I want to define and use those two terms, estate and legacy, and how they relate to each other, okay? So let's talk about a big one here. Let's talk about family. So I know family sounds, and most of us when we think about family kind of think about, a married couple and kids. Well, today we know that that the family is more broad than that. And I truly believe it is. And that's how we're going to use it here is, a family can be, it can be an individual. It can be a couple, or it can be two or more couples, or children. It can be whoever it is that's in your life that you care about. Who is it that you celebrate life with? Who is it that when you think about when something great happens to you, who is it the first people that you go to and want to share that with? Those people are your family, right? So it can include your friends. It can include your social group. It can include your church congregations, or your community as a whole. That is what we mean when we talk about family here in this context. Okay, that's who I want you to think of. So that's why I say it's all of us, any of us. When we talk about family, I'm including you. I'm including everybody around you. Okay. Because everybody has their own definition, and everybody has people they care about and people they want to protect. So when we talk about planning your estate or planning your legacy and keeping your family out of court and out of conflict through proper planning, I'm talking about keeping those people, your friends, your loved ones, anybody you care about that means something to you, that you want to protect. That's who I mean that with regards to family. Okay. So now the planning portions here. We're going to talk a lot about estate planning. In fact, next week, we're going to jump in and do some basic overview discussions on estate planning. What is estate planning, right? So, so here's a short group. Here's a short definition. And here's a short thought. My short thoughts on what an estate plan is. Like I said, we'll dive in deeper next week. But basically, an estate plan is something that you. Well, to tell honest truth, you have it's just like an estate. You have it whether you plan it or not. An estate plan, you have it whether you plan it or not. Okay, so if you don't take control and don't take the opportunity to put together your own estate plan and plan for the future and plan for your incapacity or death, well, your local government most likely has put together a default estate plan for you. And so if you don't take control and control your own estate, they'll do that for you, and your family will have to follow that plan instead. So normally the estate plan centers around, like I said, kind of making those decisions about who will get your estate, who's going to get your money, who's going to get your stuff when you die, and then also when you become incapacitated, who's going to manage that stuff and that money for you while you're incapacitated and can't make your own decisions. So that's what an estate plan is, okay? And so just like with estate being something that it just happens. No matter what you do, you're going to have an estate. No matter what you do, you're going to have a default estate plan. But the great thing is you can take control and you can make that plan what you want it to be for your family and your loved ones. And that's kind of what I mean when I talk about when I talk about a legacy plan. Okay. So when we talk about a legacy plan, this is kind of the estate plan that you've created with a purpose. Okay. So where an estate plan might be made up of wills and trusts. It might be made up of power of attorneys to help give someone control over your assets if you need someone else to manage them for you when you're incapacitated. A legacy plan kind of goes beyond that. Okay, it goes to not just dispersing your assets after you die, like giving them to your kids or your family or whoever charity that you want to benefit from your estate when you pass away. But it encompasses a holistic approach to health and wealth, to your family, to your business, to charitable gifting, preparing for the next generation, right? So not just preparing to give the next generation your money, but preparing them to receive it and preparing them with the skills and the know-how to use that wealth and that estate that you're going to give them, right? Preparing them for that transition when it happens. With a business, it has to do with exit planning, right? It has to do with making a contingency plan for your business. Most business owners rely on their business as their sole or major source of income to provide for their family. And if something happens to them, and there's no contingency plan in place, their family is going to suffer in most cases, right? Not only are they going to be sick and their family dealing with that, but they're also going to be dealing with the fact that their income stream is compromised and might be suffering. And so legacy planning goes into that. It goes into the exit plan for your business or your career. It goes into contingency planning for your career or business, right? And using the tools that are out there and available for you to take control of those situations, okay? Illness doesn't just have to happen to you and wreak havoc on you physically, emotionally, and economically, all right? You can prepare your business for those situations. And then also the exit, right? You might think, and I want to save this business, your business, you're running it. You want your child to inherit it, right? Well, are they ready for it? Will they be ready for it? Are the key employees going to stick around during that transition? So again, legacy planning is planning for life and planning for incapacity and planning for death. Whereas estate planning is more of the thought of let's distribute and disperse your assets after you pass away. Legacy planning is preparing your family for that transition, and it's giving them the skills they need while you're alive and forming that relationship with them while they're alive, that you're working together for a common goal, right? And that's to serve and have an impact on those you care about and on your community. See if I have any final thoughts here. So as far as the legacy goes, you really want to think about what is it that you want to be most proud of, right? What is it that you want not just to be remembered by, but what kind of impact do you want to have on the world and on the lives that mean a lot to you after you've passed away, right? Because if you instill these skills, you instill and develop principles for your family, and those guiding principles can lead your family forward during life and after death, after your death, you'll know that legacy can continue because they are carrying and following those same guiding principles that helped you become successful, right? So it's going to help them become successful as well. So that's pretty much what I had for today. Again, next week, we're going to jump in and talk about estate planning and do a little basic discussion on the foundations of estate planning. And then from there, we'll dive in deep. And again, we're just kind of laying the foundations over these first couple of weeks. And as we lay down those foundations, we'll build more and more on those and get more and more specific into the skills and into the plans that you can lay. Some of the neat things we'll be talking about is how can you help your family get more involved in charitable giving? How can you teach your kids and that next generation to care about charitable giving? And how can you include them in your decisions regarding charitable giving, and so they can develop that sense of service, and that can help them with humility and with viewing life as an opportunity to serve others and not just take, right? To give as well. So there's some things we'll talk about, and so yeah, please join us next week, and look forward to it.